Hi Jeep Jamboree fans, Pierce Sumloff. We're down here right outside of LA in Lake Forest, California?
Yep, that's it, Lake Forest, California.
With Bon Gilmer of Rebel Off-Road. We're here in his great shop. Bon has joined us at Jamborees for quite some time with a slew of your clientele. And he's here to share with you guys some mistakes, some popular mistakes people make when they modify their Jeep 4x4s. And this is really important. I mean, Bon works with us on a daily basis. You know, we do the events. These guys are the experts when it comes to aftermarket parts and fixing their vehicles and modifying them up. But you wanted to share with some people. We're down here in Los Angeles just talking about a few things. And this is a consumer's vehicle here that a lot of participants have at Jamborees. It's a Rubicon Wrangler. It's a four-door, has some slight modifications to it. But the next step up, we know a lot of you people want to go kind of the next level, is a vehicle like this with some great big modifications, bigger tires, lift kits, and Bon and his crew run into a lot of problems out here with, you know, aftermarket, off-road shops putting on parts improperly or incorrectly. And what are kind of the top 3 things that people run into, that you guys run into?
Well, it's not just the off-road shops. We also run into a lot with customers. So we see a lot of things on the Jamborees, and the Jamborees are a great showcase to see what's working and what's not. Not just for the vehicles that we've built, but actually to see what customers have. One of the key things to keep in mind is you want to build your vehicle really around the tire size that you're after. So if you're looking for a 37-inch tall tire or a 35-inch tall tire, you don't need to put a 6-inch lift on these vehicles. You kind of want to keep it around 3 or 4 inches of lift. That's really the key factor. Keep the vehicle sitting a little bit lower. So most people that we see that are building it themselves are sometimes building the vehicle a lot too tall.
Like you and I were talking about earlier, you're saying people don't also have a vision for what they want 2, 3, 4 years down the road. They kind of see what they want in the catalog and say, I want this, so I'm going to put it on my vehicle, but it's not necessarily what's best for them.
What kind of works the best for each customer is if you look a couple of years down the road and think, how do I want my vehicle to work, look, and perform 2 years from now? If you start by putting on a budget boost and some 35s, are you really going to be happy with it? Or would you be happier saying, let's kind of build it a slightly different way, gauge it towards a 37-inch tall tire with a 3 or 4-inch lift, so that down the road you're not double spending. The key that I like to look for with helping a customer choose the right components is to minimize the amount of double spending that might potentially happen.
And we do see a lot of that, and we hear about it a lot through the Jamboree program. People put a certain component on their vehicle, they're not ready to make the full upgrade, they spend a little bit more money, and then they go back and they spend double what they originally intended to because they didn't really focus on what they wanted in the first place. So that's a great first tip. And what about, you were talking about tires and
well, a couple of things with the tires. If you're going for a tire on one of these newer style JKs, you want to go for a 35 or a 37. And as I said, you don't actually have to put a big lift on it to do that. 3 to 4 inches is really the key factor in the tire size. It also keeps the center of gravity down low. But there are other components that need to go along with those. A couple of things that we see on the Jamborees where customers seem to be struggling is they've got a sway bar link that's a little too long or a little too short. And they have brake lines that aren't quite long enough. What happens is, driving around the street, driving around town, it works great, but when you're off-road and you're on the trail such as the Rubicon or some of the other great Jamboree trails, the vehicle is now flexing, and when it's going to full flex, that brake line's not long enough, it's going to break. And when it breaks, you don't have any more brakes. When the sway bars are too long or too short, they're either going to become inverted and break, or they're going to bounce into a tire and pop a tire.
And no Flintstone braking, right? You can't just put your feet out there.
No, but we have seen some people try after they've gone through the pains of the wrong size brake line.
So now, and the other thing is, one of the weaknesses you guys notice with the JK is driveline. And a lot, you kind of encourage people to replace this because it's kind of a weak point of the JK, particularly when you're off-roading in big rocks like Rubicon. Or
That's exactly correct, Pierce. When you're off-road and the tire is getting bound up a little bit, or you're on bigger rocks, or you're in deep trenches and things like that, you need to have some components that are going to hold up. Not to say that the factory product is inferior, but when you go to a bigger tire, there's a lot more inertia. You need to upgrade a couple of the other links along the way. One of those links is the drive shaft. When you're changing out the drive shaft and you're putting on a double CV style drive shaft, you're going to get a lot more use out of that drive shaft. It's going to be able to flex further, droop further, and not bind up.
More reliability. Now, when you modify these vehicles for people, by the way, this vehicle is going to North Africa. So to give you an idea, Bon just doesn't do modifications out here near Los Angeles. You do them all around the country, right? Nationwide, people come into the shop because of their specialty, because of their expertise in modifying these vehicles, and they actually name their vehicles Rebel Cons, which is kind of cool.
And we've had lots of customers that once they discover how we build a vehicle, they want to trust it to the experts, being Rebel Off-Road. We have the vehicles shipped to us from all across the country. We modify them, and then we just put them on a transport back to the customer. It's actually amazingly inexpensive how much it'll actually cost you to ship a car to California and for us to ship it back to anywhere.
Many people think it's out of their reach, but when you look at the money you're spending on making these modifications, my recommendation is do it right and do it right the first time. Don't do it half-assed, do it right, spend the money, get it done right, get a vehicle put together like this one that you can use on a daily basis, but also you can trust and is reliable when you hit those more hardcore trails, that you know you're going to be able to get off the trail, get back home, and get to safety. So that's really important. So people can find out more information, rebeloffroad.com.
That's correct.
Highly, highly recommend it. These guys do a great job, and I think you'll be really pleased with what you find on the website. All right, so take care. Hope this information was worthwhile to you guys, and until next time, we'll see you later.
Take care. It is.
Sweaty guy, there's sweat on your face.
I feel it too. Are you recording? Good.
Right. So I'm sure you, whatever, I can't. Drive shaft on. You said bigger shaft is better. Okay, maybe balls and Rebel Con's not an authorized name. Bond goes to jail for the rest of his life for that name.
No, we have it trademarked. We should be fine.
Who's calling in the middle? It's fucking